Very good morning to all of you here. Everybody knows the time of the seminar, and I have assigned two students, Samdarshi and Asneha, for conducting this seminar. So, at first, this whole meetings will be conducted by Samdarshi, and Drishti will record all those things, and the things will be conducted by Samdarshi, and so Samdarshi will start, and then he will hand over to Sneha when he will wish, and he will just without that everybody should be ready to ask the questions regarding the name. There are many questions, many query in my mind. So at first he will give the speech. At first he will give the content for sometimes for the 10 minutes 15 minutes according to his wish, and then the question round will be started, and so that everybody will become very much advantageous with this kind of the interactive class. So okay, I am just handing over to this to Samdarshi. Samdarshi, no, you can take the charge.
Very pleasant good morning to sir and my dear friends. Welcoming you all here. I am Samdarshi of Standard 12 at St. Lawrence High School at Patna. This seminar is subjected to India's role and commitment during the Cold War, that is when the world has gone bipolar, where I will be sharing you my report on the non-aligned movement, its origin, its evolution, its critics, and its justifications as well. After me, my co-host Sneha Kumari will take you ahead and later invite you all for the questions, views, and counter views round. But before we begin this seminar, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to respected sir for organizing this seminar and providing us a platform to share as well as to get known about a lot of significant facts. So, starting with our seminar on topic India in the bipolar world through NAM, that is non-aligned movement. We know that after the end of World War, the two superpowers were primarily engaged in an ideological war, which was in between the capitalist USA and the communist Soviet Union, which came to be known as Cold War. A number of countries were getting involved in this group and getting the membership of either of these power blocks as per their system of capitalist or communist or their belief of capitalism or communism. But India didn't opt in any of them. But India chose a third way of non-alignment. What it was that India opted for, and keeping aside the membership of both the blocs. So, non-alignment had its birth in international relations in the post-1945 as an answer of the new sovereign states to the forces of Cold War and security alliances. It was to keep the forces of Cold War weak. The policy which guided the path of such states came to be known as non-alignment. Initially, several scholars used terms such as neutrality, neutralism, neutralization to define non-alignment. Such an scholar, George Basenberger, alignment, which are isolationism, non-commitment, neutrality, neutralization, unilateralism, and non-involvement, which were in some way similar to non-alignment, but none of these could be used for defining non-alignment. Non-alignment simply denotes a foreign policy which opposes Cold War alliances and aggressive power politics and which stands for interdependence in foreign relations based on such principles as peace, friendship, and cooperation for all. Basically, the non-aligned movement was on the principle of Panchsheel. Panchsheel is the five principles of peaceful coexistence, which follows the mutual respect for each other's territorial integrity and sovereignty, the mutual non-aggression, mutual non-interference in each other's internal affairs, equality and mutual benefit, and peaceful coexistence. Also, while speaking on the foreign policies in Lok Sabha on 9 December 1958, Jawaharlal Nehru has stated that when we say our policy is one of non-alignment, it means non-alignment with power blocks and military blocks. That itself is not a policy, it's only a part of policy. That we are not the parties to the Cold War and we aren't member attached to any military bloc. The policy itself can only be a policy of acting according to the best judgment and furthering the principal objective of and the ideals that we have. Also, if we see about the origin and evolution of NAM, its evolution can be classified into three stages. The very first stage in the emergence of non-aligned movement came in the form of adoption of non-alignment as a fundamental principle of their foreign policies by several states, particularly India, Burma, Indonesia, Egypt, Yugoslavia, and Ghana. These countries became the torchbearers of non-alignment. The second stage in the organization of name came when some of the leaders of non-alignment countries decided to establish and develop contacts and cooperation among the new states. The third stage in the evolution of non-alignment came when Nehru from India, Nasir from Egypt, and Tito from Yugoslavia emerged as three strong stalwarts of non-alignment. As we know, each and every policy, movement, or anything has some advocates and has some critics too. The non-aligned movement has also some critics who were criticizing it on the following basis. The main points of the critics said that it is an unrealistic and idealistic principle. It can be responsible for a lack of sincere and real friends for non-alignment movement. They criticize this as a principle of inaction and pacifism. They also criticizes non-aligned movement as a double alignment, as to secure aid and help from all nations that India wanted. But what the justification is? Actually, it's a realistic and pragmatic concept. It involves full action and participation in international relations. It helps the new states to act out their desired role in the international politics and international relations. It isn't a double alignment. It doesn't stand for any military or political alignment with any state. Also, as a positive role, non-alignment movements weaken Cold War between the two rival blocs. Also, many of times a frequently asked question can be seen there that we know that non-alignment movement that is NAM still exists, but the question is that it was basically formed for the opposition of Cold War. When Cold War has already ended in 1991 after the disintegration of Soviet Union, the objective is not there, then how can the movement be there? So the NAM continues to be a global movement, a movement of all the third world countries against new colonies. The objective of non-alignment movement are long-term objectives, such as establishing the new international economic order and democratization of the international system and its functioning. It continues to live as the single largest movement in the world and can be still seen as a multi-nation alignment movement in way to fulfill the collective aims and objective of several nations. So now I will request my Neha Kumari to take this seminar ahead and then request you all to have the questions and the counter questions round. Thank you. My co-host will kindly take it over.
Very good, Samdarshi. Really, it was very much plausible. And what the thoughts and what the contents you have given, certainly it is a very advantageous. And really, you have conducted the seminar in such a way that it can set up the example for every student. If every student will prepare in that very way, my student will be ready to fight with any others, whether the debate or discussions is occurred, where the any kind of oration is there. So it would be very much advantageous. Now, at first, Sneha will conclude, and then the question round will be started, including me, and there are many. The two will be there, and then you will answer. Sneha, you just also conclude in a short time, in a 7 to 10 minutes. You just conclude your speech on the issue of non-aligned movement.
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir. And first, I would like to conclude for my views on non-alignment movement through the relevance in the today's world. So, due to its principles of the non-alignment movement, it effects can be seen in the today's geopolitics world. For example, due to the following reasons, we have world peace. NAM has played an active role in preserving the world peace and still stands its founding principle, ideas, purpose that establish the peaceful and the prosperous world. It also have a very great influence in the territorial integrity and the sovereignty. It had maintained also stands for the maintaining the independency of the different small countries, and also show that since they are the small countries, but they are not under the control of any of the big powers. And after, if they will come together, then they can also be one of the superpower in the world. So the third world nation, we cannot ignore the contribution of our non-alignment movement that was held in the Cold War era. Like if it could have not formed, then it would be more intense. There would be more intense between the USSR and the US conflict. So they were the non-alignment movement was the equitable in the world order, like the US and the USSR have their control, or they promote the equitable world order in the expect as they act as a bridge between the political and ideological differences existing in the international environment. And they have also expressed in the development and the other countries. So the principle or the objective of this NAM has a great relevance in the today's world. So if dispute arises between the developing countries and developed countries, then NAM concern topic, for example, World Trade Organization, NAM would like act as a platform to negotiate and conclude peaceful, securing the favorable decision for each member. So it also maintain the sustainable development between the world, and also not prevent, and also prevent the escalated war and the World War III. Like NAM supported the concept of sustainable development. It can lead the world towards sustainability that sometimes we used to neglect, and during the war, all the powers used to maybe forget about the sustainability of the world, and just so NAM was one of the platforms that support the sustainable development. And also for the economic growth, the countries of the NAM has inherited assets such as favorable demographic demand and favorable location. So in the further upcoming times, they can grow as a very strong economic growth. Like India was also a country, and now it is the fifth largest economic of the world. So, like for the first concept, you can say that it can be seen as irrelevant principally when the India was joined. Since he is the member of the NAM, but he still signed a friendship treaty with the USSR. So sometimes it questions the many of them questions on its not seriousness towards China. But it concludes that he had signed the treaty just, but in that nowhere in that treaty it is written that he will not make a good relations with the other countries, including USA. So we cannot say that India in the since that time when the treaty was signed, there was a war between Indo and Pakistan for the Bangladesh liberalization, and we can in 1971 that was so so like we all know that in geopolitics nothing is permanent. We have to make an effort according to the situation that arises around us. And NAM also was one of them, I think, because it has take a stand for the decolonized nations that was not very strong in the comparisons of the USSR and USSR, but still they have take a major role in the world, and now they was uh, equally in the decision making of the geopolitics, and interested in the uh, taking the taking the decision in the political effects that happen in the politics. So, like for example, I would like to say in a General Assembly, Jawaharlal Nehru has put his views that since USA has the nuclear weapons, so it will be a crime if it will be a crime and against the humanity if he will throw nuclear bombs in any country. So he should prohibit it for doing that. That secures that secures the right and provides security to many least developed countries. And since there are many least developed countries, NAM has stood as a strong in the world and showed its more prevalence in the geopolitics world. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay. Okay, many thanks here. Once again, Sneha, also you have pointed out some of the relevance factors on which I am going to ask the questions. Now it's a good way here. So students, please just find out the question as I am starting the question from my side here to Sandarshi here or Sneha, whatever may be the answer these questions. Now, if the NAM was justified here, NAM has been made India, and India himself involved in war with China, Pakistan, many wars. So what was the relevancy? You don't think it was only the showing nature of India to join the NAM, to put forward their pseudo prestige? They established that they are not going to join any of the power bloc, but still they felt that they believe in the peace. But what kind of peace? They involved within the 10 years of response, they actually fought the 4 wars. So what was the relevancy of the NAM? Then why not? If the India was also interested to escalate the war, so then why not India also be the part of the any power bloc? That would comfortable, that would make India comfortable. Samdarshi or Sneha? Samdarshi. Okay, Samdarshi.
Sir, as we see, the non-alignment movement was generally the non-involvement of India in the two military power blocs. But it doesn't mean that India will never gonna to respond to a military attack or any such terrorist activity or anything which is going to threaten peace. So, however, we see we have so many crosses of LOCs and so many issues from Pakistan and China side. So I think there is no issue in that India had only opposed this power and just saved its own peace and for its citizens. Even our Indian constitution gives the article 97 to nearly 100. There is a self-defense act for individuals. So why not the nation can have its own self-defense? If someone is going to threaten its peace, then surely we can have the opposition and save ourselves. It's our right. So that's all.
Really, I accept it. Any student, please ask the question. My dear, there are many students who can ask the question.
Sir, I want to ask. Can I?
Yes, ask.
Sir, I want to ask them about the India's foreign policy during the Cold War. Plus, was it a decision for India to not join any superpower bloc, because at that time India was not economically very developed and it also needed technical and military support. So was it a good decision?
Also, this was my question. I was asked, but very good. No, I'll answer. Sandarshi or Sneha, anyone who is able to answer, please answer. Good question.
Yes, sir. I think it was a good thing that India was not in the part of USSR or USA, because since there was intense conflict between them about their ideologies and to show their powers to it. And if India became the part one of them, so it might be chances that India have to work under them, and they will lose their independency that they have gained recently, for which they have been struggling for 200 years. And if for this only they have to, then why they were struggling for the independence, they have to be under the British Raj only. Then there's no point. They know if they will come under the USSR or USA, they have to face some casualty about it, and that will not uh, that will be not our democracy about. We do not want to rule by the others. We want to rule by the people of the India only. So I think it was a good decision.
Yes, it's a good logic. It was. Aditi, are you satisfied, or you want to ask any supplementary question?
So I will also like to keep my views on this question.
Yeah, please give.
Yes, so Drishti's question is very right on its place. I have seen a lot of people giving logic that why India shouldn't join any of the two superpowers, or basically NATO, because if we join USA, we are going to become a member of North Atlantic Treaty Organization, and we had so many military benefits, static benefits under its Article 5 of NATO. We had got security from the other nations that like India and Pakistan. If we got the membership of NATO, it would create a deterrence for China and Pakistan to attack India. Then why did India left as such a beneficial thing that India left NATO? But it was not just still our benefit. We were going to also lose many things. If we join NATO, already NATO has so many conflicts inside upon the military burden. Who is going to take over the burden of all these things? So India was already economically too weak. If we see ahead, it would deteriorate the relations with Russia. We had a very nice relations with Russia earlier, and if we tied the relation with USA and have a membership of NATO, the Russia must get failed. Also, it was the issue of sovereignty of our country, and we must have dragged into various conflicts that we are not a part of. India has been much used as a military setup, base setup, and so we must have been dragged in many of the conflicts that we never got part of. So that's absolutely.
Yeah, really. Asneha also pointed out, because India got the independence newly, and if they will be the part of the power bloc, they have to work under the influence of these two power blocks, and there might be the chance of the slow development and the suppressed development, and that you have clearly pointed out. Yes, very good. Now, anyone, just the next students, please ask the question. Both my students are ready to answer any of the questions if you will ask. Yes, Rista.
So, if NAM is still relevant today, why our Prime Minister didn't attend the summit in 2016 and 2019? They don't want, this shows that they don't want to be a part of that no more, and they're not interested in that alliance.
Samdarsi.
Sir, Jawaharlal Nehru was a great part of the non-alignment movement. But after a long time, if one of our Prime Minister, that is currently Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi, had skipped the meetings of non-aligned movement, and for some time it has become controversial too that we are not going on our path. But it's not so clear. India hasn't rejected such policies of NAM. We are still working on it. And if we had missed, so really, I don't know the exact things that why we had skipped the meeting. But we are still on the policies of Panchsheel, and we are following it, and we are always working on the policies of non-deterrence, non-aggressive, peaceful coexistence. So we can't just say that we are not on the policies of NAM, and hence I think India is still on the same route, and India will always have such a good policy.
Actually, the things happened because the international politics, geopolitics had changed. The nature of geopolitics had changed. We have to oppose Pakistan and China also on the international issue, on the international platform. And now their NAM is really relevant, but it doesn't matter the meeting, attending the meeting is a relevancy of supporting the meeting, supporting the group. It doesn't matter. There are many kinds of the work. There are many kinds of the things that and India was not mind over it. However, the international organization is a day by day weakening. Understood. And there is no any strength of the international organization due to the bipolar strength of the world. And particularly it had been seen because the many of the international organizations made the So America made all them the puppet of this, so that the world started to a little bit do the work by themselves, not by joining the membership or joining any groups meeting. It doesn't matter. You have rightly pointed out. It doesn't matter whether we will attend the meeting and then we will carry forward the principles of NAM or anything. Understood? But this is a very, very burning question. So the questions, I think this is the best question for Risa, I think so. Anyone who want to ask this question? Now the time has come. Very few students, please take the charge to anyone who asked the question.
Sir, means there was not a major issue that India will have not attending the NAM meeting. Means
Yeah.
there was
Yes, it was
just a
actually
coincidence
traditional.
had got
Yeah. Actually, all the traditional issue, nothing has been included. The world has changed. The world changed into the economic world. Actually, NAM has been introduced to establish the peace and harmony, because during that time there was a great fear of war. Now the fear of war has gone away. Now this time the world transformed into the economic world. It means those who are strong in economy, certainly they are strong in military. So that irrelevant topics of the NAM actually did not attract India or did not attract much of the nations. Only they are fulfilling the curriculum of these things. They are not having the new agenda that will be included, because now this time you have seen everywhere the priority is given to the development of economy or other things, trade, globalization, and these were not the agenda of the NAM. So anyone who want to, or should I conclude? No one will ask the question. Yes, Risa.
Sir, NAM as a foreign policy tool, is it still relevant today?
Yeah, no, very good questions. Your question is very short, but it includes the very deep things. So do you think, what is the relevancy of NAM today? Sandarshi?
Yes, sir, no doubt. NAM is still relevant today because NAM was on the policy of a Panchsheel as we concluded. And what the things there was in Panchsheel, we are following it and we are going it and we are including it in our foreign policies. So there can be clearly, it can be concluded that NAM is still relevant. And apart from the foreign policies of this Panchsheel, NAM is also helping the other nations, the developing nations, to unite and have a real and have their voice in the international relations and keep their things I can say that it is helping the new sovereign states of that time, which are still under developing their collective aims and objectives, and it's fulfilling these collective aims and objectives of these nations at international level. So NAM is still relevant today.
Yes, Rista, NAM is still relevant. Your old friends is telling.
Sir, I have one question.
Yeah, Kristi.
Sir, on what ground do you think that NAM would give a competition to any superpower bloc if it's created in the future? Do you think that NAM will give a strong competition, or it is just the name of the organization?
Sneha.
Yes, sir. There was not a provision to give the competition to the countries. NAM was made just because the recently decolonized countries have been formed. They have not the motive to compete with the two superpowers. They have just want to act as a mediator so that the conflict could be slowed down, and also their objectives also don't have that they have to give the strong competition to them. They have to just make the world peace. If they will be also come in the competition, then there will be third world versus USSR. Then this is USA and this is NAM. Then that's why. Then world peace.
That's why it's okay. It's a narrative was not like that. It would give competition. Its narrative was, its main principle was to give cooperation, give support, not the competition.
Yes, sir.